Hi everyone, it's Jennifer from Flux. In this video, I will show you how to finger crochet. Finger crochet is a fun activity that requires no special tools. All you need is some yarn and your fingers. You'll also need a pair of scissors for the end. And this is a great project to do with kids, and it's a wonderful way to introduce someone to the wonderful world of crochet. In this video, I'm going to show you the basics of finger crochet. I'm going to show you how to make a slip knot, how to create a starting chain, how to create a single crochet stitch, how to transition from row to row, and how to work the double crochet stitch, and finally, how to fasten off your work and complete your project and weave in the little ends that remain. So I have here a swatch, as you can see, of finger crochet. And as you can see, because your fingers create large hooks when you're working, it does make for a nice, loose, open kind of fabric. And it's very pretty and has a nice drape to it. So let's get started. To make a slip knot in finger crochet, wrap the yarn around your fingers to make a loop. Bring the yarn behind the loop, and then with your finger, reach in the loop and bring up that loop, just like that. Now, normally in my videos, I instruct you to tighten at this point onto your hook. We're going to leave it a little bit loose because what we want to do is our loop here that we have, we want to be able to fit our index finger and our thumb into the loop to pull yarn through the loop. So you want to keep it a little bit loose. Let's get a little more yarn off our yarn ball. So let's move on to our starting chain. So to do our chain, we're going to reach in to the loop, and then we're going to do the same thing we would do when we crochet. Bring the yarn through. Now, I want to show you something. If you just pull the yarn through the loop like this, see how I'm just pulling it through, straight through? Your chain will be upside down. That's the back of a chain. See, it looks like a chain link fence almost. And then if we flip it over, it looks like a regular crochet chain. If you wrap the yarn around your index finger like this, exactly like when you're crocheting, your chain won't be upside down. So wrap the yarn around your finger like this, just like you would with when you're crocheting. Wrap the yarn around your index finger and pull through. Now you can see our chain looks like a crochet chain. It's pretty loose, and that's normal because your fingers act like a large hook, okay? So just bring it around and through. Around, this index finger is acting just like a hook, and through. Around and through. You can tighten it if you need to a little bit. Around and through. Around and through. So let's look at our chain. We have a nice looking starting chain. Looks nice and loopy. So let's move on. I'm going to show you how to work a single crochet into your chain. Okay, to work a single crochet, it's worked the same way as when you're using a hook. So in the second chain from the hook, this loop here does not count. So 1, 2. So this chain here, you're going to insert your finger into the chain and bring up a loop. You'll have 2 loops on your finger. Wrap the yarn around your finger and then bring it through those loops. Just like that, just like when you're crocheting. So you'll have 1 loop on your finger. Okay, let's do that again. In the next chain, insert your finger into the chain and bring up a loop. You might need your thumb to help you out a little bit. You'll have 2 loops on your finger. Wrap the yarn around your finger again. Bring it through the 2 loops. So you can see we have 2 stitches worked. Okay, Let's do that a few more times. Insert your finger into the chain. Bring up a loop again. Your thumb will help you out here to pull that loop through. Wrap the yarn around your index finger again. And bring it through the 2 loops using your thumb as a helper. Okay, we worked another stitch. Now it's good to keep this loop here on your finger nice and loose. Okay, insert your finger into the next chain, bring up a loop. As you do this more, it'll feel less awkward in your hands also. Wrap the yarn around your finger, using your thumb as a helper, bring it through both loops. Okay, we're just going to work the rest of our chains. I'm going to go nice and slow. Okay, we have 2 chains left, so let's go ahead and work those. And then I'm going to show you how to transition from row to row. Okay, wrap the yarn around your index finger. Using your thumb as a helper, pull that loop through. Let's get some more yarn. And in our very last chain, insert your finger into the loop. Using your thumb as a helper, bring all that through both of those loops. And this is what we have left. It looks very pretty, nice and loose and open. So let me show you how to go on to the next row. Okay, we're going to chain 1, just like when we crochet. Chain 1, turn our work. So just flip it over, and then if you've never crocheted before, when you're crocheting, you work into stitches. So this is our first stitch right here, and if you look at it, you can see on the top of this stitch, it makes like a yarn V. So what you're going to do is stick your finger right in there. When you do that, that yarn V will be on top of your finger, okay? So we're just going to do this the same way. Wrap the yarn around your finger, bring up a loop. Wrap the yarn around your finger again, bring it through both loops. Our first stitch of the next row. Insert your finger into that stitch. Again, we have both loops on top making a V. Wrap the yarn around your finger, pull it through. Wrap the yarn around your finger, bring it through both loops. I wanted to mention this is a wonderful project for kids because they're not using any kind of pointy hooks or anything like that. And it really helps you, I think when you can get your fingers into the project, it really helps you to understand how stitches are worked and how the yarn is manipulated. And it's a great way to introduce kids to the world of crochet as well. So let's finish our row. Insert your finger into the stitch. I'm going to go a little faster this time. Bring up a loop. Wrap the yarn around your index finger. Bring it through both loops. Insert your finger into the stitch. Wrap the yarn around. Bring up a loop. Wrap the yarn around your finger again. Bring it through both loops. Okay, we have a few more stitches, and then we've worked our second row already. So this goes pretty fast. Wrap the yarn around your finger. Insert your finger into the stitch. Then wrap the yarn around your finger. Bring up a loop. Wrap the yarn around your finger again. Bring it through both loops. Insert your finger into the stitch. Wrap the yarn around. Bring up a loop. Wrap the yarn around your index finger. Bring it through both loops. Okay? Now when we did a chain 1 and turned, we have this thing called a turning chain. So what we're going to do is we need to locate it first because it's a little loopy. There it is. Okay? So it's just work the same way. Insert your finger. You'll have 2 loops. Wrap the yarn around your finger. Bring up a loop. Wrap the yarn around your finger. Bring it through both loops. We've now finished our second row. It looks very, very pretty. Okay, so You can keep going with your project as long as you like. You can make a scarf or something else. And I'm going to show you, if you're feeling like you want to learn something else, I'm going to show you also how to work a double crochet. So if you want to keep going with your project as I've shown you, you can just keep doing that. If you want to add another stitch to your skill set, then keep watching. Okay, so to work a double crochet when you're finger crocheting, you're going to chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. This will give you the height that you need. It looks very, very tall, but it'll be okay. Then turn your work. Now, this will count as our first stitch, so we won't work it into this stitch. But into this next stitch that you see, we're going to do this a little bit different. You're going to wrap the yarn around your finger first, then insert it into the stitch, okay? So wrap the yarn around your finger, insert it into the stitch. Bring up a loop. Now we have 3 loops on our finger, okay? So wrap the yarn around your finger. Bring it through the first 2 loops only. We're going to leave that one on there. Wrap the yarn around your finger. Bring it through the last 2 loops on your finger, okay? So it's going to look kind of like that. It's much, much taller than the single crochet stitches. So let's do that a couple more times. Wrap the yarn around your finger, insert it into the stitch. Wrap the yarn around your finger and bring up a loop. You'll have 3 loops on your finger. Wrap the yarn around your finger again. Bring it through the first 2 loops. Wrap the yarn around your finger again and bring it through the last 2 loops. Okay? So let's take a look at what we're doing here. It looks very, very open, almost like eyelets. It's very interesting looking. Again, if you're just comfortable with the single crochet, I'm just taking it a step farther if you're interested. Okay? So let's do that for the rest of our stitches. Wrap the yarn around your finger, insert it into the stitch. Wrap the yarn around your finger, bring up a loop. You have 3 loops on your finger. Wrap the yarn around your finger, bring it through the first 2 loops. Wrap the yarn around your finger, bring it through the last 2 loops. Okay, let's get some more yarn. We're going through our yarn quickly. Wrap the yarn, you're going to have a loop on your finger. Wrap the yarn around your finger, insert it into the stitch. Wrap the yarn around your finger, bring up a loop. Wrap the yarn around your finger again, bring it through the first 2 loops. Wrap the yarn around your finger, bring it through the last 2 loops. Wrap the yarn around your finger, insert it into the stitch. Wrap the yarn around your finger, bring a loop up. Wrap the yarn around your finger, bring it through the first 2 loops. Wrap the yarn around your finger, bring it through the last 2 loops. Okay, now again, that turning chain area where we did before, you're going to do the same thing. So just kind of locate. Sometimes it gets kind of smushed. You just kind of locate those 2 kind of corner loops. Okay, so you have a loop on your finger. To finish up, wrap the yarn around your finger, insert it into the stitch, wrap the yarn around your finger, bring up a loop. Wrap the yarn around your finger, bring it through the first 2 loops, wrap the yarn around your finger, bring it through the last 2 loops. Okay, so you'll have 1 loop left. So let's look at what we've done. Looks very interesting and open and pretty, and it gives us a really good comparison of how the single crochet stitches look compared to the double crochet stitches. Okay, so once you've gone as far as you want, you can make a practice swatch like I've done here, or you can get committed to a full project. It's totally up to you. But when you're finished, you'll still have this loop. So I'm going to show you how to finish off your project. So if the loop is on your finger, go ahead and kind of loosen that up and carefully slip your finger out. just like that. And you'll take a pair of scissors. Now, if you're doing this with young kids, you'll definitely want to help them with the scissors part. Because you need a little bit of a sharper scissor, kids' scissors don't really cut it with, no pun intended, but they don't really cut the yarn as well as regular scissors. So you just want to cut the yarn just like that. You don't need too long of a tail. And then put your finger back into the loop and just bring that tail through, just like that. Okay? Just like that. So then you're finished and your project is fastened off. However, you have these tails. So you can also weave these in with your fingers. No special tools needed. And you can just take the tail and just kind of like, see, I'm just weaving it in and out with my hands. Nothing special needed, okay? But I do want to show you that if you, so I went in one direction. If you come in the other direction, it'll help keep that little tail from popping out. And sometimes these really loose projects, it happens a little bit more frequently. Okay, so once you've woven it into your liking, you can just kind of trim that extra piece off. See, and you need to do it again. That's okay. These open pieces, the tails are a little trickier. Okay, so that is how you finger crochet. Let's tuck that guy in. There we go. And then you'll just do the same for the other tail. So that is how you finger crochet. So I've shown you how to do the slip knot, how to make a starting chain, how to single crochet, how to transition from row to row, and how to work the double crochet, and how to finish off and weave in the ends of your project. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks so much for watching, and be sure and click the red subscribe button to get all the latest Fiber Flux video updates. Thanks again.